Well, hello. Now, greetings and salutations. I'm going to assume that you already know what the word for the day is. But what if I assumed that you knew it, but then you really didn't? Then I would be wrong. Ooh. I better not assume then. Maybe we'll just talk about assumptions today. How about that? Our word for the day is assumptions. Now, how many of you have ever made an assumption and you assumed something about somebody, but it turned out to be completely wrong? You thought it was one thing, but then it turned out to be completely opposite, and it just flipped your entire life upside down. You just could not believe it, that you were wrong, that you assumed something was based on the information that you had, but then it turned out to just be not right at all. Well, I'm not going to lie. It's happened to me before. And it's probably happened to you too, or you wouldn't be watching this. Now, God has some thoughts about this. And here's what God says. He said, "My thoughts are nothing like your thoughts, says the Lord, and my ways are far beyond anything that you could imagine." That's Isaiah chapter 55, verse 8 out of the New Living Translation. Wow. And my ways are far beyond anything you could imagine. So if we just think of God from a worldly perspective, we're going to be assuming a lot of things that aren't right about God, aren't we? If we don't know Him. Assumptions made from a human viewpoint, they lead us to make actions based on a human viewpoint. And when we do that, that can close the door to God's miracles in our lives. Now, that happened to me. When I was 18 years old, I thought I knew everything. I relied on nobody but myself. I moved out, went to college. I was going to be an electrical engineer, and I was going to make big bucks, and I was going to become a rock and roll star. I started playing in metal bands and alternative rock bands, and I even played in a few country bands and played for some country artists in Nashville, playing drums all over the place. And then I started diving into the alcohol scene, and then of course that alcohol scene led to taking a few pills along with it, seemed to enhance the feeling, and of course you know what that leads to. It led to an addiction issue for me. I took some advice from the wrong people, people that admitted that they were not Christians at all, but I took their advice from people that I assumed were looking out for my well-being, but the truth of the matter was they weren't. They were only looking out for themselves, and they were giving me advice to make themselves feel better about the bad choices that they had made to begin with. So it wasn't until I was about 26 or 27 that I actually opened up to the idea that maybe I'm doing something wrong here. You know, it's when we are open to the possibilities of God's ways. Once we open our minds to the possibilities that maybe God's way is better than ours, then you're going to begin to see more clearly how He is at work all around you. And that happened to me when I was around 26 years old. I went to some friend's house, and their mom had a Bible laying on the kitchen table. I picked up the Bible and I read the title of the Bible, and it said Holy Bible on the front of it, but I picked it up and looked at it and I said, "Oh, look, Holly Bible, is this a biography?" And the mom just about fell out laughing. And she was like, "You can't be serious. Surely you know where the Bible is." And of course, I giggled a little bit and said, "Yeah, I do know what the Bible is." And they were actually good influences on me. They led me back to a place that I hadn't been in a long time. And they got me back in church. And if they hadn't, I do not hesitate to say that my wife now would not be my wife, because she would not going to have no loser for a husband. She wouldn't. You know, I married up, I just have to say. And now I'm married to a pastor that is a pastor in the United Methodist Church. They say that God pairs people up with folks that balance each other out. So God had to give me a pastor to balance me out, if you know what I mean. But the thing about that was God promises to work in your life, and He promises to work in my life, and He has. But you must see things from His perspective, or you could be blind to what He is doing in and through you. So that brings us to our question of the day. And the questions are, do you have assumptions about God? I know I certainly did for a long time. But what changes can you make to see life from God's perspective? What changes can you make to see life from God's perspective? I'll tell you, for me, the changes were not making any more assumptions about God. Just quit making assumptions and read it for myself. That's really what changed my life and my relationship with Christ the most, is digging in and finding the truth, and that truth is Jesus. So let's stop making assumptions. Don't assume anything. Read it for yourself, and your guidebook's right here. It's got the answers that you need. Blessings. I hope this has touched you. If it has, please share it. Hit that like button and that subscribe button, and click the little jingle bell so you can get notified the next time I upload a video. Adios.